This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to GoOnlineTrainings.com. We are discussing about views. What is a view? Why do we need to create a view? And what are the options with the views? And we had seen what is an updatable view, what is a non-updatable view, and what are the limitations of the views. All these things we discussed in yesterday's class, right? And today, let us see some more concepts, with views. So that is called what are the options that we have with the views. So before, discussing that, so there is a question asked in the yesterday's class. Can we join tables with views? Can we join view with another view? Okay, so what is a view? View is also virtual table, one more table. Clear? For example, let me go and create a view. View is what query? Let me write one query first. Select star from account master table. I have some data here and I wanted to write one more query. Okay. So transaction master. So I'm getting some data. I wanted to know who are the people who have done the transactions in the current month. Current month means already we know last month, last date, current date. We have to achieve with the help of date diff function. Current month means MM. The column name is DOT and get date. Okay. So get date is equivalent to what? Is equivalent to 0. So if you put and you put 0, it is current month. Last month means 1. 2 months back means this, right? I told you already. So today, so who are the people who have done the transaction today means DD, right? So DD means date is equivalent to 0. Yesterday means 1. Day before yesterday means 2. So like that. So who are the people who have done the transactions in the current year? It is Y 0, right? So last year means it is 1. Already you know all these things. Last year, current day, current week, last week, all these can be done with the help of date diff. Who are the people who have done in the current week? Current week means WW0. That's it. It is current week data. If you need last week data, you should be able to give -1, not -1. Okay, if you give -1, it is wrong. Clear? So it is 1. So 1 means last week data, last 2 weeks data. Okay, I wanted to get last 2 weeks data means, like this. So all these things are important. I discussed so many times. Okay, people have done transactions in the current year, current month, current quarter. Current quarter means it is a QQ. You need to keep 0. Clear? So you can execute this. So who are the guys who have done in the current quarter? Okay. I wanted to know who are the people who have done in the current year. Current year means, so this is what is called current year. So these are the guys. So I wanted to create a view, VW. So transaction or current year transaction. Okay. Current year transaction. So that's it as something. So I wanted to have all this data, or you can also filter some data if you wanted to filter it. Okay. So I don't need transaction number. I need only these. Okay. If you need complete column names, I told you to get it. So go to iBank database, go to tables and go to transaction master columns. I need all the columns. Drag and drop the columns here. You will be able to get all columns like this. Whatever you don't need, you can remove them. So DOT, account ID. So whatever you want, check date, check. I don't need this if you, and something like this I don't need. See, writing columns are pretty much easy when you take this and execute the query first. So it is giving me date of transaction, account ID, branch in which the transaction have been done. So transaction type and everything. So let me execute this view. So create a view. Spelling is wrong. Create a view VW current year transactions, right? Current year transactions, TXNs. Let me execute this. Okay. So after creating a view, I don't need this at all. Even though I delete, nothing will happen. So I will call the view. How to call the view? View can be called in select statement. Select star from the view name. Clear? So a lot of things you can create like this. So we are going to be getting this information, but I wanted to have the name of the customer. So there is name is missing here. So I wanted to use the name. Whatever be the reason, I wanted to join as a, okay. So to get the name, where the name is available, the name is available in your as a, where the name is available in your account master table, right? So you can say account master table as B. So now if I execute, I'm able to get account ID. In the account master also we have account ID, right? So in this we have account ID. And in the view also we are having account ID. So when you have a common column, we should be able to join everything. So this is the table, this is the view. When you execute both of them, you can see account ID here and you can see account ID here. If there is no common column, we cannot join them. Clear? So we can also join them based on the branch to branch. So, but we don't get, all the accounts when you branch, when you join the data based on the branch. Anything you can use, but you need to have the common column. But definitely for this requirement, I need to have the employee, the customer ID and customer name. If you join with the branch ID, you will not be able to get proper data. Clear? So definitely in this, there is a common column. I could see account ID to account ID. So I can say A join with B, and the common column we know A dot account ID is equivalent to B dot account ID. That's it. Clear? So I'm able to join this table, like this with on condition. Now you should be able to see the data, right? So this is the data coming from a view. This is the data coming from a view. And from here, we're getting the data from the account master table. What all you need? I need account ID. So A dot account ID, because it is having in both places. I wanted to have the name, okay? And I wanted to have date of transaction, and I wanted to have, because branch is available here and branch is also available here. If something is repeated, definitely you need to give a branch ID. What branch you wanted to have it? Clear? A branch ID. Then what is the transaction type? Whatever you wanted to have, you can have transaction type and comma transaction amount, and I wanted to have C balance. Whatever you wanted to have, you can have. So like that, you can execute the query. Clear? And for this, you can create one more view. You can create a view. That is also possible. Create a view, because I wanted to centralize this code. Create a view, VW, get, customer name and transactions. Something like this we can have, but it's going to be giving you current month transactions as. Clear? So in this, I'm using one more view here. Have you seen this? Now I have created the second view. So now that's it. Okay. Now call the second view. You can join. You can also create one more view like this, and that you should be able to call. Select star from the second view name. So that is how you should be able to have. You can join the table with a table already we know. We can also join view with another view, view with another table. So that can be very easy. And we can also create one more view on a view as well. Clear? So whatever you wanted to do it, you should be able to do it. So this is one more view that I'm able to get it. So in this view, you can also apply again where clause. For example, where I wanted to get purely CW data. So I am saying transaction type is equivalent to CD or CW, whatever you wanted to have. On the view, you can apply group by clause. You can apply this one, that one, whatever you wanted to have. Clear? So whatever you wanted to have, you can do that. So it is a virtual table. It is a table. So on the table, you can apply group by clause, sorting operation, having clause, everything you can apply. Clear? So remember this point. Even though it is a not a table, you can apply whatever you wanted to have. For example, I wanted to know in this branch wise total amount, transaction amount. Branch wise means you need to say branch, and a total amount means there is a transaction amount we have. Sum of transaction amount AMT as total TXN amount. Okay, so if you have aggregate function, compulsorily you must have a group by clause, right? So like that, you should be able to get the data in the branch wise. So it is going to give you a current, year transactions only, because this view is getting a current year data. Clear? Only to get the names and other information I have joined with this table. So understanding the query is also very, very important. What is this query doing? So if somebody asks you to read this and understand the logic. So now somebody gives you this view. Now tell me what this view is doing. So you need to say, you can understand, he's selecting some columns. You should not worry about it. Okay, you should not worry about it. He's selecting some columns, but you need to understand what is he joining. Okay, he's joining with a view. Okay, with a table. So table has some data. He's joining. What is this view for? Now let me go and check this view. Okay, this view is getting some data. Okay, is getting, when you see this, you should know, okay, this view is getting current year data. That's it. So current DOT account ID, don't say like this. This view is filtering something. It is getting a current year data. So you can understand this view is getting a current year data, and to get some extra fields and is joining. That's it. If you understand these 2 points, then you know how to read the code. Clear? And don't say that DOT, account ID, branch ID. These are the columns, these are the data. Simply you say he is reading some data from this table, and what is the logic is applying. So this is the logic. The logic is what? He is reading a current year data from the transaction master. That means simply you can say this view is going to get the current year transactional data. That's it. And some details is getting very good. Then after that you say, what is he doing? So he is joining. Why is he joining? Because he wanted to get some more fields. So what are the some more fields? Could be this data. These two things are not available. So he is going to get the data from some these two tables. This from this table. So that is the purpose why he had joined. So that is how you need to read the code. Okay. Okay, that's what he has done, because he wanted to get some more data. Because of that, he had joined. Very good. That's it. He is joining. And after that, so what is this doing? So that means this is this, and the same thing is used. So you can understand this view is going to get current year data only, because this view is using this view. This view is getting a current year transaction. So current year transactions only is getting, but within that branch wise sum of amount. Clear? So that is how you should be able to read the code if somebody gives you like that. What the code is doing. If they give you something, so you can read one by one what it is doing, you can write. So you can write in your own comments. So this view gets current year data. That's it. Current year data. That's it. Nothing else. This is what this view is doing. Nothing else. But some fields. So not all fields he has taken. Some columns he has taken. So whoever is the developer, so he is doing like that because of the requirement given by the customer. Customer wanted to see only these fields. Okay, so these are the things. This is how you are going to understand somebody else's code. Clear, guys? And can we join a view with a table? Yes. Can we create a view on a view? Why not? You should be able to create. Let me create one more view. So create a view, create first view. Let me say create a view, VW get fixed deposit customers. Okay, this is a loans application, right? So there is a table called account master table. right? So when you go to this is customer table. So there is a product called savings bank, loan account, fixed deposit. So this guy has opened savings bank. This guy has opened loan account. Bhaskar Jog has opened fixed deposit. No, I have to use PAD. PAD stands for product ID. So which is the product I have opened? So fixed deposit customers only I wanted to have it. So I'm simply writing a where clause, right? So I wanted to create one view. This is the first we have created, and I wanted to create view on another view. Whatever be the reason, whatever be the reason, people have created a view on another view. So you can say create a view and VW. So the view name is get fixed deposit customers. Okay. So these are the fixed deposit customers only. But I wanted to get fixed deposit. I say get BR1. BR1 means branch BR1. Branch BR1 fixed deposit customers I wanted to have it. Clear? So now what I do, I say as I'm going to be using the same query. So because already that view has been created, right? Select star from the view name. Let me execute this. I from is missing. Okay. From is missing. So this is the first query I'm calling here. So I wanted to get where branch ID is equivalent to branch BR1. Okay, branch BR1. So I am using the view and I'm filtering some data here. And this is what is my second view. Clear? And I have created call the second view. So what is the second view? It is this. Select star from the view name. So this is how you should be able to call the second view. And if you wanted to call the first view, that is also you should be able to call. First view is this view, right? This is the first view. First view is getting this data. Second view is getting this data. So this is my first view and this is my second view. So I can create a view on a view, right? I can also join view with the view, but first view and second view should have a common column. I can join table with the views, okay? I can also join functions and views. Clear? So remember, but I cannot join stored procedure to anything else. Why we will discuss later. Okay. So the point here is that so joins can be done. Joins can be done. Table can be okay. Table can be joined with a table. So that can be done. A table can be because table is a set of rows and columns, right? Table can be joined with a view. Okay, or a view can join with a table. So there is no problem, okay? Because the table is getting data in a table format, right? So you should be able to call the view in a table. So view can be joined with the table. And a view can also be joined with another view. So that is also no problem, okay? So you can have, and this view, again, further you can join with the table because we can join lots of tables, right? So anything can happen. Now, let us talk about table. Tables you can join with the functions. Functions we never studied. Functions are called as UDFs, right? User defined functions. Can we join? Why not? Again, one UDF, okay? One UDF can join with one more table. And a view can also join with a table and That is already we discussed, right? View and tables are discussed. View and also can be joined with UDFs functions. Okay, a function can also join with a view, right? So a UDF can join with this, join with the tables. So anything can happen. There is no problem. Okay, so remember these points forever. A function can be joined with another function also. One UDF can join with one more UDF as well. Okay, one function can be joined with one more function. So we never discuss the function as of now. We will discuss the functions and we'll see how to join two functions or how to join two tables or tables and views and functions. Okay, tables and views, all these things can be done. So joining can be done. So what we cannot do? So what we cannot be done means stored procs cannot be joined with tables or views or functions. So nothing, nobody can join the stored procedure. Why we cannot do that? Because stored procedures cannot be called as part of select query. So that we are going to be discussing later. But if you ask me why, how a view can be called, you can say select star from the view name. So this is how we will call the a view. How can we call a function? We can say select get date. Okay, so we should be able to call the function as part of your select statement. Okay, but we cannot say select stored procedure. So this is completely wrong syntax. Syntax itself is a wrong. So you cannot call the stored procedure with the help of a select. You need to say execute stored procedure. So this is where the issue starts. Stored proc need to be executed with the help of this syntax. Clear? So you cannot call the stored proc with the help of a select. Since we have to use execute, not the select, so that is where the problem starts. So we cannot say, select star from stored proc. It is not going to work. You need to use a different syntax to execute a stored procedure. Because of that only, because of the syntax problems only, stored procs cannot be called anywhere. Okay, you can tables and views can be joined. A table can be joined. A view and table can be joined. Anything can happen. A table and a UDF can be joined. UDF and table can be joined. A view to UDF, UDF to view, table, anything can be happening, but only views and user defined functions, nothing else. But if you have a stored procedure, I told you, stored procedure is a bigger brother to everybody. He may take a views help, he may take UDF's help. Okay, but he cannot say I will join with the view. No, he cannot join. And I cannot, stored procedure never join with the UDFs. They can call these people. Stored proc can take a help of this guy or this guy, but it cannot be joined with the view. It cannot be joined with the UDFs. Clear? Remember forever. So these are the points people may ask. Can I join table with a view, view with the table? Can I create a view on a view? Can I call the function inside the stored proc? Lot of things people are going to be asking. So this is what you should say and you should understand. Clear? So it is this one is very very early, but let me tell you one point. Okay, so we will have this concept later as well. So there is a view to centralize the code. I told you, right? There is a view and there is a stored procedure and there is a UDF, user defined function. So I told you in yesterday where views cannot be implemented. Yesterday we discussed limitations of the views. Okay. So when the view cannot be implemented there, so we need to definitely jump into stored procedure. So somewhere the stored procs also can't be implemented. There is a problem with the stored proc as well. And that is when we are going to be implementing UDFs, user defined functions, right? If I'm able to do everything, why will I take one more trainer to teach Python? Because I don't know Python. So I'm taking one more teacher to teach you Python, right? If I'm able to teach Python and I have a time, then definitely I will teach Python. If this guy is doing everything, then why we need to have this guy? If this guy is doing everything, why then we need to have this guy? So definitely this guy has limitations. Because of that, I need to jump into this. And even this guy has some limitations, we need to jump into this guy. Right? Even if this guy has some limitation and we need to come to this guy. So like that, we have to use that depends upon now. Let me say functions only. Okay. It is fun. UDFs means functions only. Okay. Functions. So remember, this slide is very, very important slide, guys. And this guy is a caller calling, and this guy is being called, callee. Okay. This guy is calling. View can call a view. Yes, there's no vacancy. Okay. View can call a view. A view cannot call a stored procedure because stored procedure is something different. We cannot call that. View can call a function. Yes. Stored procedure is a big brother. He can call a view. Stored procedure can call another stored procedure. Yes. Stored procedure can call one more function. Yes. Because stored prog has everything you can do. A function can call a view. Yes. Okay. And join and call also. Function cannot call a stored procedure, and a function can call another function. Yes. Okay. So these are the two places you need to be careful, and many interviewers would be asking this. I have a view. Inside a view, can I call a stored procedure? Answer is no. I have a stored procedure. Inside that, can I call a view? Why not? You can. Can I call one more stored proc? Why not? Can I call one more function? Why not? Inside a function, can I call a view? Yes, I can do that. Function is calling one more stored proc. No, that cannot be done. Function is calling one more function. Yes. Okay. So these are the two statements that you need to understand. It is too early to compare all of them, but I wanted to tell you today. But I will repeat the same thing once again after we complete everything. Clear, guys? This is very, very important slide, and try to understand why we cannot call because of the so views can be called as part of select star from the view name. So you can write view name here. And how the functions are called, functions also can be called with the help of select star from the function name. If you have a function name, for example abc, you can write the function like this. You can call. So as part of a select, you should be able to call function and a view. But stored proc cannot be called. You need to use exec stored proc name. Because of the syntax issue only, we are not able to join, or we are not able to call. Clear? Because of this is a negative point of stored procedure. Stored procedure is a big brother. So many times we are using only the stored procedure. Only 10% of the time we work on the views and functions. 80% of the time we're going to be working on stored procedures only. But even though stored procedures are very, very good, and they're very, very faster, and they have a limitation at the time of calling. You need to call the stored proc exec stored proc name, or you can say execute stored proc name. Clear? We will not be able to call the stored procedure as part of a select statement. So that is the big issue of the stored procedure. Because of this, these issues only, now this no and no is came. Clear? So how to create a stored proc, where exactly we are going to be using stored proc, all of them we're going to be discussing later. But this slide is very, very important for you to understand. Clear? Now, can we join a view with another view? Why not? So that is what we have done it here. Let me go back to SQL. Now I have created a view number one. Now using this view, I have created this view. This view is also working fine. There is no issue at all. There is an interview question. Can I drop first view now? So how to drop the view? Drop view. First view is this. Can I drop? Because I am dependent on you, but you are saying I wanted to drop that guy out. Okay. So this guy is dependent on this guy, and you're saying I would like to drop this view. Can I drop this view? If I drop, what will happen to this guy? Clear? So this is also one more important question. So if I drop the view, what will happen? to this view. Let me drop the first view. Everything completed successfully. The first view is no more. So when you try to execute, it is telling me invalid object name. This view is gone. Clear? But what about this view? This view is dependent on this view, but it is not saying anything now. But if I try to execute this, it is telling me invalid object name. This view is missing. Clear? Could not view use blah blah because it is telling me something binding errors. Clear? So not only that, for example, tomorrow you create a table. So I have a table called employee table, employee ID, employee name, employee salary. So I have one John 2000. I have two, say Kiran 3000. I have some data. I'm going to be creating a view. Create a view VW get EMP as select employee ID, employee name, employee salary from the employee table. That's it. So I'm going to be calling the view. So how to call the view? Select star from the view name. What is the view name? This is my view name. So this is how you should be able to create a view on the table. Now, somebody has gone here. They did not drop the view. Okay. They did not drop the view. What they have done, they had only renamed this employee table to like this, EMP table to employee table like this. If I rename this table, what happens? Can we execute this view? Because this view is saying EMP and somebody has modified the table name to employee. Now, what will happen to this view? If I execute, this view tells me that EMP table does not exist. It is dropped. Clear? I did not drop it. I did not drop it. I simply changed my table name. If I change my table name, so what will happen to this view? Whenever you calling this view, this is going to try to go for the EMP table. The EMP table is not available. So it says that EMP table does not exist, invalid EMP name. So anything can go wrong. Or this is EMP table only, no problem. But somebody has modified, it is not EID, EMP ID. Now, will it happen? Will it work? So you have given as EID, but somebody is modified as EMPID. Will it work? It is not going to work because when you try to execute this view, it tell me EID is missing. If one column is missing, complete view will give you the error. Clear? Complete view will give you error. So that means anybody can change schema. Schema means what? Schema means a table name plus the column names and the data types. So these are called schema, or people are going to be saying metadata. What is the metadata? Metadata means column names, data types, primary key, foreign key, table name. All these are called metadata. What is data? This is a data. Okay, this is what is called metadata and this is what is called a schema. People would ask you what is a schema. So this is what is called a schema. Okay, this is what is called data. People will say what is a data? Data is this. What is metadata? Metadata is a data about a data. So that is what is called a schema. Schema means what? So table names, column names, column data types, primary key, foreign key, a lot of them we're going to be writing. So this is what is called a schema. Whenever schema changes, okay, whenever schema changes, what will happen? This view will not work at all. For example, if you change this to something else, this will not work at all. Okay, schema we should not change. After creating the table, we should not create table names, column names. If you create them, definitely your views and stored procedures functions will not work. That's it. Clear? Again, you have to remodify all the views, you have to remodify all the code, you have to remodify all the functions. Clear? Because if you rename this EMP to employee, then this will not work. Not only stored procedures, not only views, stored procedures, functions, whatever be the code, that you have written, that code will not work at all. Remember this point. Clear? So once the table names, column names are created, you must not do any column changes or table names anywhere. You should not do any changes. But if you're doing, before doing the changes, you have to drop them or you need to alter them. Alter and give the new column names here. Okay, give the new table names here and try to work on this. Otherwise, your views and tables and stored processes will not work and completely the application will be down. You don't know which view is calling where and which stored proc is calling in which .NET code, which Java code, which Angular JS code. You don't know. Simply you coming to the SQL Server end, you're simply modifying the table names, right? We are not creating a SQL Server for us to use it. So there are a lot of website client applications are involving. They're calling a lot of stored processes, lot of views, lot of functions the website is calling. You're simply modifying the table name here. So the website is going to down. That's it. It is not going to work because it is going to call lot of views, lot of functions, lot of stored processes everywhere. You are using employee, but someday you came here and you modified this employee. That's it. One small change will cause complete enterprise applications may be down. Clear? If they're using HR application is completely down because HR application is going to be calling this table in the throughout the HR application, right? One small change will, you know, will create a lot of issues. Clear? So before doing any kind of a alteration to the table schemas, remember you have to know where this table is being called. Is it called in this view? Now go and update this. And is it called in this, there? And you do this and update. Is it called? Is it used in the stored proc? Do this and update. So you need to list all of them first. Okay, people would ask you, your client will ask you, if you do any modification to this table, what is the impact analysis, what is the impact on the remaining code? Do the impact analysis and give me a list. So people would ask you like this: if you have thousands of views and thousands of stored procedures and thousands of functions in your database, what is the impact? Can you give me impact analysis? So you need to say wherever this has been called. So you need to go to each and every view and verify whether this view is created on this table or not. Clear? So you need to verify and you can tell them that if I change this, or if I drop this, these are the views will not work. These are the stored procs will not work. These are the functions will not work. These are the SSRS reports will not work because we don't know. Not only you, even SSRS is calling this is SAP application. This is not going to work. This is Android application, which is not going to work. So you need to call all Android developers, SAP developers, because the data, SAP, Android, everybody is getting this database data only. Clear? It is a big issue when you modify something. Clear? So modification in the real time is not so easy. All applications will be down. So we are creating only stored procs, but this guy may be calling select star from employee. Maybe he is using a query. So EMP table only is writing a query. This query will not work. If the query does not work, SSRS and Power BI and all other applications are not going to work. That's it. Clear? It's very dangerous if you do any modification. If at all, if you wanted to do any modifications, you can do that. But before that, you need to do impact, analysis, risk analysis that you need to do it. So what are the applications are going to fail if I change something here, right? So there is a provision for you in SQL Server, that is what is called with schema binding clause. Schema of the base table or a view cannot be modified or deleted. See, what is the meaning of schema binding? Now we are talking about if you change any schema. Schema means I told you this and this is what is called schema. Clear? So the schema, if you change this, automatically this view will not work. But instead of saying like this, can't I stop? Because if I'm trying to change something, if I'm trying to change something only, I should get an error, not after changing it. So when I'm trying to change something here, I should be able to get some error. So I need to create that kind of a logic. So if that is the case, you need to say, you need to implement with schema binding. Okay. Schema binding clause you need to include in this. That when you say with schema binding and try to create a view, if somebody goes there, either they try to drop a table. For example, they're not anything, they're saying dropping a table employee. When they execute this statement, now here, now I'm able to drop it very, very easily because I did not use schema binding clause. So first view is easily dropped. But if there is a schema binding clause applied whenever you create a view, if you try to execute this, you will get an error from SQL Server saying that no, you cannot drop this guy because this guy is completely dependent and this guy is clearly saying with schema binding. So when we say schema binding, nobody can modify the schema, nobody can drop this view, so it will not be allowed at all. So this is what is called a schema binding clause. If there is no schema binding clause, what will happen? If I execute this successfully, this will get dropped. Clear? And if I execute the view, that time it will say this employee table is missing. Clear? If you don't have schema binding clause, you can drop the table. But you should not, 'cause this kind of a thing should happen in the databases. If that is the case, you have to go in for with the schema binding clause for the view. Okay, when you do like this, what will happen? Nobody can drop the view. Nobody can even touch and change their names like this. They cannot do anything else. So they cannot do, even though the column names also they cannot touch anything. They cannot put like this. Clear? So nothing can be changed, nothing can be dropped. So that is the meaning of with schema binding a clause. If it is not there, you can drop, I can drop, but later at the time of calling the view, it will tell me that employee table is missing, invalid column name. Same error, you will get invalid object name EMP. That is what you're going to be getting. So if you don't want to happen like this means you have to use with schema binding a clause. So what is the syntax of this? This is the syntax with schema binding single word. Okay, so schema binding is a single word. That's it. With you need to write with schema binding. So this is what is very, very important. So that is what you have to implement. Create a view with schema binding a clause. But remember, you have to include a schema here. So if you go to tables, you see dbo dot item, dbo dot. So we are not giving anything. So what is this dbo? This is database object. Clear? So this is one kind of a schema. Why schema? We'll discuss later. This is also one schema. So people may confuse. This is also schema. That is also schema. What is this? Okay. So the table syntax is also schema, and this is also a schema. DBO is a schema. Okay. So that means this table belong to this schema. This table belong to this schema. And if you see carefully, I have different schemas I can create. Okay. So DBO is a schema. Then department. So there is a schema here. If you see carefully, different schemas are available. So this is a schema. This is a schema. So if you don't assign anything by default, you should be able to get DBO. Person dot address. This is a schema. Why schema? Why people are going to be creating this kind of a schemas? As already we spoken about. This is also schema. I told you, right? So this is one type of the schema. At the time of creating a table, you create a table, table name, employee ID, integer, primary key. That is what is called a schema or the code. So that schema you leave it as of now, and this is also called as a schema. So whenever you create a table, whenever you create a table, if you don't assign to any schema, by default, you will be able to get one schema. Why the schemas we'll discuss later. Okay. Why the company is creating Adventure Works is the database, created a lot of schemas. And without schema is a DBO schema. The schemas are very, very important. Why schemas we'll discuss them later. It is for the security purpose, we're going to be creating schemas and everything. Okay. So that we'll see them later. So now, whenever you create any schema binding, you need to prefix the schema, whatever the schema that the table has. Okay. And whenever you're creating, you say this is a dbo dot, and the table is also having one schema, dbo dot account master. Clear? Schema is compulsory. People would ask you, if I wanted to use schema binding, what are the prerequisites or what are the things I should know? So at the time of creating, you should also prefix one schema. By default, you can prefix a dbo. Okay. But if you wanted to create one more schema called ABC, that is also you can create and attach it to it. What is a schema and why we need to create schema? So that we'll discuss later. So this schema is something different than that schema. So I'm talking about the table names, column names. This is something different schema I'm talking about. This is what is called metadata, data about data. So this schema is something different. Okay. So DBO, and if you don't give anything, any schema, by default, your table is going to be assigned with DBO, or your views are going to be assigned with DBO schema. So database owner or database object schema. Clear? But you can also create a schema like a person, like we could see lot of schemas here, person dot, human resources dot. So it is telling you this table belongs to sales table. This table belongs to sales table. Okay. Schema can tell you like that. But what is the purpose of the schema means to apply security. Why security and all? We'll discuss in the probably next class or the later classes. So remember, so whenever you create a schema binding, it is important that you should write one schema. So if you don't write, you will get DBO. But in this case, you cannot say I will not write. So you need to say DBO dot, and here also all the tables must be having a schema. When you create like this, now account master table cannot be deleted, cannot be dropped, cannot be modified. Okay, modified in the sense the schema names, the data you can modify, data you can delete. I'm not talking about data. I'm talking about schema changes, schema updates. Remember that point. Clear? You can insert the data, delete the data, modify the data. Data you can do anything. I'm talking about metadata. Metadata cannot be changed. The column names cannot be changed. So you cannot do anything else there. That is what is called schema binding clause. Okay. In this case, in our example, what we were doing, so we did not use with schema binding here. So create a view with the schema binding and create this view also with the schema binding. When you create a views with the schema binding, now what will happen? So I am dependent on you and I have used schema binding. You are dependent on a table, you are used schema binding. So none of them can be dropped, none of them can be modified. If you wanted to drop, and always you need to drop the first, you need to remove the schema binding clause. Clear? Or you need to drop the schema binding view first. Okay. So this view you need to drop it first. If you wanted to alter something, either you should drop it or alter it and remove it with schema binding, or drop the view first. After dropping the view, you go to the base table and modify the table or drop the table. So that is what you should do it. Otherwise, with this, you will not be able to touch the account master table. If you wanted to do the schema changes in the account master table, metadata changes in the account master table, first you have to drop these views and stored procedures. Then only you can touch and you can modify and you can recreate them if you wanted to recreate them. Clear? So that's what is very, very important thing. Okay, so this is one what is called options. Okay, we are talking about options, right? So one option with the schema binding. The next option, let us talk about with encryption. With encryption means once you encrypt the code, nobody can decrypt it. Why code is encrypted? Nobody can see anything. Hacker also cannot see the code. Once encrypted, no one can decrypt it, including Bill Gates or Satya Nadella, who's Bill is CEO of Microsoft. Nobody can decrypt it, so nobody knows how to decrypt the code. Clear? Once you encrypt it, you cannot read the code at all. Create a view SB customers with encryption. If you write like this, I cannot see the code at all. Clear, guys? So let me create one view and tell you. So what I do, I go to view, I create a view. Lot of views we have created in iBank database. Any view you can open very, very easily. You can see the code. So this view I can open like this. I can go to design mode and open. I can see the code very, very easily, right? I have created one more view called SB customers, like with encryption. So this is the code I have implemented with encryption. You can also underscore, you can use SP underscore help text. You will be able to get the complete code. Schema means complete code, you can get it. But since I have used SB customers with encryption, you go to this, already created this. Now right click on this, a design, it is disabled. Have you seen this? It is not enabled. But if I go here, it is design is enabled. Clear? So you cannot see the code of this. So if you wanted to see the code, normally what we do? We say sp underscore help text, right? And the view name. Now I am going to be using this view name. Now tell me what is telling? Encrypted. But if I use any other view, if I take any other view, I can see the code very, very easily. So this is the code, I can see it. But I am not able to see the code for this guy because it is encrypted. Clear? So once you encrypt it, what is the code behind the scenes? Nobody knows it. If the application is very, very important, you better take one copy of the code with you and you encrypt the code like this and give the code. That's it. Code will work. You can say select star from this. It is going to work. It will give you the functionality. It is getting some data. But what is the code I have written? I don't know, you don't know because I forgot, right? So before doing encryption, it is important that you take a copy of the code elsewhere. Clear? So that's what is very, very important, guys. And tomorrow we'll continue further. Any other questions? What is schema binding? If it is very, very important. And what is encryption? These are the interview questions people may ask you. Clear? If you have any questions, you're welcome, guys.
Sir, one question from here.
Yes.
Is View create any schema?
See, what is a schema? Schema means metadata. Whatever the syntax that you're writing, that is a schema in simple words. So this is what is called a schema. Okay.
It
This
means
is what is called
how long it will reside in the database? Mean
see, everything is permanent. See,
okay,
all the code and all the views are permanent. Till you die, till I die, till it is there. It is permanent. Clear? So this is what
okay,
is called a schema. Schema is nothing but a code. Schema is nothing but a metadata code. So whatever the code you have written, this is what is called a code or a metadata or schema. Clear? Yeah.
right.
So yeah. So in tables, whatever will be the code that you're writing, that is metadata. For example, column names and primary key, foreign key, and keys, whatever you create, whatever the code you are writing to create a table, that is what is called schema. For example, tomorrow I create a table. Okay. So I'll say create a table employee, EMP. I open the bracket, close the bracket. I write lot of things here. Employee ID, integer, and I say primary key. Okay. And I say name, varchar, blah, 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 not null. Clear? So this is what is called a schema. This is what is called code. Clear? So what is the schema of the view? This is the code. Code is called as a schema. Remember this. This is a code and this is also called as a schema. So don't get confused with this DBO schema and everything. People will say, show me the schema of the view. Show me the schema of the table. Show me the schema of the stored procedure. Clear? So the code is called as a schema. That's it, nothing else. Clear? Schema is permanent. If the schema is deleted tomorrow, then I cannot use the view tomorrow, right? So it is permanent. Clear? Any questions?
Clear, sir. Thank you.